We are here at Granny's Legacy Patterns today, and we are going to be doing a stitch clinic on embroidering the bullion knot. And so oftentimes in our patterns we'll say a bullion knot, but we don't tell you how long to make it or how many wraps to make it, because it's like individual blanket stitching. You never know how long you're going to be making them. Each one person is going to do it very individually. I like to use an embroidery needle because it has a littler eye, and so it's easier to pull the thread through the wraps of the bullion knot. So I have a number 7 embroidery needle threaded with size 12 Valdani pearl cotton. And so I will come up where I would like my bullion knot to be, and I'll decide how long I want my bullion knot to be. So if I want it to be 3/8 of an inch long, I go down and back up where I came. So I've come through, and then I put my needle as long as I want my knot, and then I come up where I started. And then I push my needle through far enough to have some wraps on there. Now the number of wraps determined by how long of a stitch you took here. So I want to wrap as many wraps as I need to make a length equal to my bite. So I'll start wrapping. And I go counterclockwise. And I keep wrapping, and I check. Is this the number of wraps I would need to fill that nibble? And it looks to be about the same length. If I put too many on, it's going to curve, and sometimes I'd like to have a curved one. But if I want a straight flat one, I want to make sure my wraps are no more wraps on here than I would have the length of this. And that looks about right. So I have this equals this bite. And I don't want to wrap too tight. If I wrap too tight, it's very hard to pull your needle through. So after I get the wraps on, I'll just take my thumb and gently push the needle through the wraps. And so you really can't see what's going on here because I'm holding them on with my thumb and finger. See, they're right there. And I'll just keep pulling, and then all of a sudden it'll tip over and fill that space that you just needed the knot on. And then you can take your thumb or your finger and roll them back and forth to even them out and get them just like you like them. Now those are just laying there beautifully. Now I'll go back down where I came up originally and finish off that knot. And so that is a perfect bullion knot if you want a straight situation, a very straight, just little end of a flower stem or a decorative straight bullion knot. Piece of lavender or wheat, those are perfect for that kind of a situation. So I'm going to knot it off, and I'm going to show you a very long bullion knot. We're going to do 3 different samples here. So I'll snip my thread, and I'll start with another needle and thread, and I'm going to do one that's very long. So I have a needle threaded here, and I'm going to put a knot, and usually when I do embroidery I will use a thread wax, but with bullion knots I don't do that. I want the thread to be able to pull through very easily. So now I have a knot that's about 3/8 of an inch long. Let's try one that's very long. So I'm coming up again, and let's say I want one that's a whole inch long, this long. Then I push my needle through again up where I started, and I've got this long to fill, so I'm going to really have to bunch that up a little bit so I have enough needles sticking out. And then I'm going to wrap a lot of times. And once again I'm wrapping, but I'm being very gentle to not wrap too tight. And I will wrap a bunch, and then I will check to see if it equals that space that I had pulled through. And it looks like I'm going to need some more wraps because that isn't quite enough. I've got about 3/4 of an inch, not quite enough. I'll loosen a little bit more thread off of my needle. I'm going to need some more thread. I don't want the tail to get in the way. I'll wrap a few more on because I really need to have that really long, like if we're doing a butterfly body, we need a long bullion knot. So now I'm going to check again and see if my spacing is about right. And that looks about as long as the space that I had nibbled off. So once again, I'm going to put my thumb and finger gently on those coils to keep them in shape. And with my other thumb, I'm just going to gently push that through. Wiggle my needle a little bit if it's tight. And I'm just going to pull. And all of a sudden it wants to flip over, and that's okay. And if it wrinkles up and the threads get undone, you can just work carefully and slowly and get them back where they're supposed to be. And pull it up until it's just right. And of course on camera I would get a little knot. That isn't what I wanted. Just work away, get it back where it's supposed to be, rub back and forth, and all of a sudden the coils will go back where they're supposed to be. There we are. A very long bullion knot. And you can use a longer needle. There are needles, bullion knot needles, that work well for that. But so there's a good chance for a butterfly body. And what if I wanted it to curve a little bit for the butterfly? I could put a little stitch in the middle to curve it up to make it a body if I needed to. I could put a gentle stitch in the center and curve it ever so slightly to make it hug the butterfly. Just like that. So there's a very long bullion knot. Okay, that's number 2. Now we're going to try one more. If we could get one more needle threaded, please.
Color?
L082. We would like to do a series of bullion knots that curve around a curve that make little picots to settle a bead into. So an example of that would be, I will bring an example for that. Just 1 second. So I've got a series of bullion knots that create a picot around this piece. This is called hopack. And so I would really like my bullion knots to leave a space to add the bead inside of. So I'm going to come up on the outside of my piece and nibble about the space it would take for a bead to settle in. So I'm going not quite 1/4 of an inch. So I have my nibble here, but now I'm going to do more than fill in the space of the nibble. I want to pile on a whole lot more wraps because I need to have the space for the bead to nest into that. So I'm going to start wrapping. And usually when I do this, I'll start counting so that every single picot has the same number of wraps on it. So if let's just say I have 14 or 15, but see, I have quite a bit more wraps on my needle than I have space that I've nibbled. And now I'll pull that through. And when I pull it through, it's going to curve and make a beautiful little nesting spot for a bead to go into. And if I want to hold that back so that it doesn't curl up or fly up and cover the bead, I'll put a little stitch in the middle of it, trying not to create a V, but keeping the round look of it. I'll put a nice little stitch on there, and I do this right away so the thread is variegated thread, so the thread matches the picot. So I've created a nice little hole for a bead to put on. So I can go back and slide a bead on there. Let's see if I got that pink one or something that's big enough to go over my needle.
Let me grab it, or
I'll slide a bead right in that hole. nest it right in there, and there's a beautiful picot for that bead. So when I did this, I would count. Did I wrap 17 times or 15 times or 14 times? It doesn't really matter, as long as every time I do it, I bite the same bite and I count the wraps the same. And I'll get a beautiful line of picots around here, just like here on this whole pack. So thank you for joining the Stitch Clinic at Granny's Legacy Patterns on Bullion Knots.